La 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 la. La. Me. That's how I sit down now. With a powerful sound. Is the chat working? Oh, the chat works alright still. That's alright. What happens if I close this? Will that break the chat? Will the chat still work? Whoop. What happens when I type hello? Hello. Doing some... That breaks that chat. Oh, that means I have to work out... Oh, why do they have to change things? Ugh! Oh, I've got old enough now that I don't like change. Bloody change. Don't question why I sneeze directly into my webcam. Or why I've got tissue to hand by my computer. Just don't question it. Be right back. My head! No, I need to do my head in this window. The heat isn't too bad. The heat isn't... Like, we're not properly started the stream yet. This is the pre-stream. Before the stream. Before the fall. Configure video. Yeah. Camera control. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. We want... Perfect. Oh, I'm a little... I'm extra shiny today. I've just had a shower. You can see the... Oh, look how gleamy my head is. Perfect. Give it a little buff. See these. Bam. 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 Perfect. Hey, how's it going? How's everyone? You alright? Hopefully the microphone shouldn't be ducking in and out even if I turn away from it. You should be able to hear my voice at all directions. Oh. Yeah, is that happening? Don't know why I'm wearing headphones, they just make me hotter. So the heat here at the moment isn't too bad. It's warm. Well, it's pretty bad. It's just not as bad as it has been. A few days ago, it was the hottest day we've had on record for, you know, like 200 years or something. Time immemorium. But since records began. Is the game playable as an empty MMO? It's not really an MMO at the moment. It's a 50-person on a server MMO. It's very much alpha. They're building parts of it still, like, you know, lots of parts of it. And you get to experience the individual modules and new gameplay mechanics and give feedback on them. So it's not playable as an MMO at all yet. Yeah. Beyond being a tourist and understanding and getting to play with those mechanics before it becomes an MMO. What places can we remove our crime stats in 3.6? Security Post Korea, Walla on a security depot. So they're the underground facilities called security depots, which you can see on Walla and on Hurston. You go down there with a hacking chip. You buy hacking chips at Grimhex in Ruto's room. You can buy hacking chips in Levski Market opposite the plant vendor, and you can get them in Cubby Blast on Arc Corp Area 18. And equip them to a utility slot in your equipment manager, draw them out with the 4 key, go up to one of those terminals that's at Security Post Korea, or Walla, or on Hurston, and you plug it in, and then a little bar will come across the screen. Every so often you have to click continue, and eventually you'll be able to hack down your criminal rating to 0. What am at work? Poke CIG in the eye until they update my beloved Hornet and Gladiator. They had best to try to pass the MK2 Hornet off as a new ship and try to sell it. What? I don't understand. You might get some little updates to the Hornet and to the Super Hornet, but don't expect anything huge like anymore. Like most of the ships are pretty done when they release them now, and they don't want to keep on reworking stuff. They will revisit stuff. They will do light updates. They will do materials updates. Some ships are going to get a little bit of a worky, but not everything's going to be super reworked or anything. You're getting connection lost while you're in game? No. So at the moment, obviously there's still some stability problems It could be partly your internet, though. Could be a lot of different things. I'm not terrible with instability at the moment in the PTU or the live build. 3.6.1 is out on the PTU as well. VTOL for chairs. What? Can we expect ship customization for all ships? So yes, there's multiple types of ship customization. Okay, so at the moment in game, so entirely in game, you have the ability to change ship components and weapons. So you can buy components from various shops and weapons from various shops, and you can equip them on your ship. Those customizations are persistent. They're not technically permanent, but they're persistent. So if your ship gets you need to reclaim your ship or gets destroyed or whatever, the changes that you made to it stick. So when you reclaim it, those changes are there. Fucking great. Boom. Win. They're not fully permanent, because every 3 months they do a server reset. They will remove all of your FVC progress and FVC purchases and reset all of these things back to normal. So you have to re-equip your ship then until we have no more resets, which will be awesome. So there's also other types of ship customization which are not in game yet, more of the aesthetic stuff, but also deeper levels of customization, including subcomponent customization. So you can literally put components in components to change up what they do exactly, and their various stats. So you can make shields more powerful but take more power, or get more degraded quickly, or be more reliable but be slightly less efficient. Stuff like that is the idea. Or get stuff like working and repairing again. But also, with the 300 series more recently, we've had manufacturer customization from the website. So you go on the RSI website and you can customize the 300 series of ships with some aesthetic customizations. So you can change the colors of the ship, you can change the internals, you can change the chair, the materials of the chair, the steering wheel, add flare items in the back, have weapons packages and all this sort of stuff. And the idea from that is that at point of purchase, you are able to customize the ship. At the moment, that only exists outside of the game, external to the game on the website, but it will be in the game at some point as well, fully. So you'll be able to have all these, when you purchase a ship, you'll be able to get different packages, and you'll be able to get different colors and all this sort of stuff. But this is only going to be a limited selection of things that you can do at point of purchase. Now, there's also going to be customization in game, which allows you to go a bit more wild, sort of like aftermarket customization, beyond just changing weapons and systems. So you're going to be able to change your ship up to have, like, lots of different custom skins or paint jobs. Maybe you'll be able to have so whatever sort of paint job you want, with basic colors at least. There might be some more intricate ones like flames and that sort of stuff that a manufacturer wouldn't typically give you, like painting your 300i like a dragon, bam, and lots of fire on it and stuff. But also some more maybe bespoke changes to the ships, and some other things that might affect the roles, some sort of like different modules, that sort of stuff as well. But typically the aftermarket customization is some more interesting things in conjunction with the ability to change weapons and systems, and that sort of stuff. And that's all sort of bundled, and eventually will be bundled under the term of aftermarket customization. So the stuff we have in game at the moment, where we can change ship components and weapons, that's sort of aftermarket customization. Well, it is. But they're adding aesthetics to that, basically, and flare items and some of the other bits. But they will be rolling out all of that to all ships at some point. I was thinking that we would have the ship customization like the 300 series has on the website with the Vanguards, but we don't seem to have that yet. Maybe we'll when the rest of the variants come in 3.7, but they'll either do it with major patch releases or in bundles with ships, or just whenever they get around to it. Not entirely sure. At 3.6.1 live today, potentially. I would expect another patch candidate before it goes live. Like there's some bugs in 3.6 that they'll want to get solved. How do you convince people Star Citizen is not pay to win? It's not my job to convince people Star Citizen isn't pay to win. They can research and look at it themselves. So effectively, my channel's job is to inform people about Star Citizen and Star Citizen news, and then they can make their own decisions. I mean, I'll give my opinion and stuff on things. I think Star Citizen has pay-to-win elements, so I'm not going to try and convince people it's not pay-to-win. It definitely has pay-to-win elements in the fact that you can buy ships, which will give you an advantage when the game is released over someone that has not done that, even if it's just a small time advantage, or whatever. And yeah, you can technically get around the need for ships and stuff by joining an org, by using someone else's ship and stuff like that. Equality is a whole different discussion, but literally going a one-to-one comparison of what pay-to-win can be construed as at the lowest level, which is any form of advantage that you can pay for money, it has pay-to-win elements. I don't think that means it's going to be a bad game. I don't think that's going to means it's going to be a broken game. And I think that Star Citizen can be incredibly fun still. It just needs to make sure that pay-to-win doesn't get out of control and genuinely be sort of like the pay-to-win to get an advantage that no one else can get with money, or unless you use money, or the pay-to-win advantage is so great in time that it's inconceivable of you doing it in a timely manner or a reasonable manner without paying. It's the overly convenience-driven pay-to-win. It is sort of like the bane of games at the moment, and the convenience sort of thing is the way that pay-to-win games make a huge portion of their money, if not the most of their money. So we just got to be vigilant to make sure CIG don't go over the top with it. That's my sort of opinion on it. Could you talk a bit more about Star Citizen end goals? Will we get more of a survival roleplay MMO? It's kind of vague what they actually want to do, except for making a huge space sim. Yeah, so the core of the game is this massive space combat game. Okay, that was the sort of like original space combat, dogfighting, and that sort of like has become more Squadron 42. Squadron 42 is the wing commander, spiritual successor sort of thing, with lots of space combat, and you're in the military and this sort of stuff. Star Citizen is much more of a Second Life in space with space combat, or at least spaceships at its core. However, it is very first-person driven as well, and you can sort of do this huge range of stuff. And they've got procedural planets and stuff to support this. So the idea is that you could effectively live on a planet. You can do a mixture of economy-based stuff, be it mining, base building for outposts, and sort of cargo hauling. Ship combat's obviously very important because it will drive the whole economy. But there's going to be huge amounts of science and exploration gameplay. At the moment, I'm writing two different videos, scripts for them. So one of them is a Star Citizen roadmap to completion, which lists all of the features they have talked about, and then sort of like talks a bit about sort of like how they might evolve slightly before getting to the end of the game, but sort of like lists everything they've discussed and what we need to get to everything that they've talked about in-game that's sensible in-game over the next 5 years or so, including like lots and lots of star systems and things like that, and all the gameplay mechanics. And ships. But also, I've got another one that I'm working on as well, which looks at the sort of like gameplay they're going for, because it is very heavily Second Life in space. It's very social. It's a lot of stuff, and you can do play it in a lot of different ways. There is no one sort of like way that you could describe Star Citizen now. It's not a it's an MMO, but it touches on so many different things. But the closest thing I can think of is that it's a heavily combat-driven economy, Second Life MMO in space. It's there's a lot going on with that, but it's also interesting with Star Citizen that it's an FPS game. So you are your pilot, you are your character, not the ship, which is a bit interesting as well, because at any time you can get out of your ship. So. It's nearly midnight here. Shame I have to leave so early, but good luck with the stream. Thank you very much. It's going to chill out and talk and, tell people to be awesome to one another. Oh. Ah! Did I just break this? Well, thank you for the Patreon. Whoever's Patreon, Sven. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. What stage are they at, the 890 jump? I believe they're pushing on, literally finalising it at the moment. So they showed off recently loads of different props for it, and some sort of like art and that sort of thing. They've got a spa, it's got 68 rooms, it's 210 metres long, things like that. Let me have a look. They're almost certainly just finishing off the last few tasks for it. So it's listed at the moment as 130 of 187 tasks complete. Those are 187 tasks total, I suspect. The last 57 of them, which are the ones we're waiting on, are largely props-based and that sort of stuff to get each of the individual rooms done, because, as I said, there are 68 rooms. So I wouldn't expect there actually to be that much work left, even though there's a lot of tasks. Isn't it better to sell the Ballista limited editions as limited edition skin in the shop, like the 300i? It's weird to have three ships with other names just being the same ship with another skin. Yes, totally agree, Bjorn. I think that the just skin variants should just be listed under the main individual single listing. When will gameplay loops like mechanics like exploration, salvage, science, information running, passenger transport, and etc. be in the persistent universe? They're sort of like working on them iteratively, slowly. Salvage is planned for 3.8, so by the end of this year. Exploration mechanics will slowly be phased in, and then have more sort of like focused exploration missions, and then exploration and science. There's a huge amount coming with both of them, but exploration expect to be sort of like very slow and iterative over multiple patches, and it's sort of like there before you know it. And then there'll be the sort of like ability to scan long range points of interest down with scanners, and then they have to travel to them and then save that location of information. They have to sell that and stuff like that. So that ties into not only science but information running. Information running, expect it to be sort of like probably not too distant future, because they've already got the Herald in and that sort of stuff. But it's something they can do very easily mission based. They can go, well, there's missions here, or you can detect or scan that stuff down again, I suppose. They can just do data as cargo. Bam, you've got your information running. It's pretty simple, something they could get in easily by the middle of next year if they wanted to. Science is too huge a topic. There's going to be lots and lots of mechanics to that, and that does cross over into exploration. Passenger transport, well, you sort of have the very, very early stages of that now. You can transport people. They need to work on the AI a lot more. They have to get NPCs proper transportable for missions. But again, it's going to be mission-based to start with before it's more freeform. Expect a lot of these to be in reasonable states by the end of next year. Not science, maybe some elements of science. Salvage, again, by the end of this year, if it makes 3.8, which I hope it does, it will be sort of like mining of ships' hulls. It would be very basic. In your opinion, what's going to be switched from 3.7 to 3.8? What's going to be moved back? Physical inventories is probably the biggest thing on there that's likely to get moved back, but most of the other stuff looks pretty simple to me. It's more quality of life. I expect the whole of 3.7 will get a bit of a rework though. They'll expand out some of the extra stuff that they hadn't talked about yet. Whenever's ready, they'll try and get into 3.7. Yeah, some stuff might get moved back. I'm hoping that physical inventories is in 3.7 because I'm really excited about it. And physicalized components is another one that's not on the roadmap, but I know they've been working on hard as well. When do you think the 3.6.x patch might be? They've got 3.6.1 on the PT at the moment. That's more quality of life than anything else. It's not the 890 jump, it's not ship rentals, it's not the new shield stuff. But 3.6.x, I'd expect, we're lucky, end of next month. Yeah. Is it viable by end of next month? Seeing that we had a little demo for ship customization of 300 lineup, when do you think we'll get a wide selection of ships to customize? Yeah, as I said earlier, they'll be adding them in batches. I'm not sure when. I would have thought that the Vanguards would have got the same treatment, maybe when the variants come in. They'll add the Vanguards to the customization on the website. We know that the Vanguards are getting different nose weapons that they can change up for other bespoke nose weapons. You know if the quantum travel HUD vanishing after being interdicted has been fixed in 3.6.1. It had not when I last looked, but I believe it is something they're trying to get fixed for 3.6.1. There is a plane going overhead, or a helicopter. I thought MFDs were fixed in 3.6. Most still don't work. I wasn't having many problems with MFDs in 3.6, though I have sort of moved over to 3.6.1 now. What new ships do you think we'll see this year at CitizenCon? Thanks for all you do. Oh, thank you very much, Syrian. So, we've got a potential leak that we think that the RSA Mantas heavy fighter is going to be there, a 30-meter heavy fighter. That's probably going to go straight to live, straight to flyable at CitizenCon. I would also expect some more stuff as well. Squadron 42 based ships and vehicles, maybe. Some more alien ones. There's lots of stuff that they could show at CitizenCon, ships-wise. So I'm hoping we get Titan suits. Where can I buy the F8 Lightning? I like the look of that one. So that's the military heavy fighter, the F8, and there will be a civilian version, the F7, the F8C, rather than the F8A. So it was given to some people that are super high level concierge, so like people that have spent $10,000 and shit, get a free civilian version of it. You will be able to buy it in-game once you've got, well, one of the ways you'll be able to buy it in-game is once you've got to a certain stage in Squadron 42, it will unlock the ability for you to buy that in Star Citizen, or give you a contact that you can buy it from, like some military surplus stuff. I believe there will be other ways, even if you don't have Squadron 42, that you'll be able to buy it in game when it is released. Don't expect the F8 to be released. I mean, they're technically thinking about it, they could release it at this year's CitizenCon. I suspect it's ready if they wanted to, and maybe could for promotion of Squadron 42, though I would expect it more likely to be released when Squadron 42 goes live, is out. So at the earliest that would be Q4 2020, optimistically. Should CIG make hover mode harder to use and more frustrating? No. So landing, especially at commercial ports, shouldn't be particularly hard. And it's only hard because it's stupidly fiddly and there's no sort of auto-stabilization. When you hold X, that's fine. That stabilizes your ship out. You can't then move while holding X. Because as soon as you let go of it, sometimes, based on the terrain, or because the game just decides, you'll pitch forward or backwards quite aggressively. Even if you centered your HUD markers and that sort of stuff. Even if you've got your thrusters on low, it still might decide to go pitch forward. Or something might happen. You might clip something. And you're just out of control. That's not great. The ships do have the ability quite easily to level you out and keep you there. And when you're landing like that, you just want to be able to strafe and not fly like a helicopter. Just strafe. VTOL, not helicopter. Boom. No, I don't think they should make it more frustrating. I think they should make it more simpler. I want hover mode to make ships feel heavier. I want hover mode to help make ships not super OP and broken against all other ground targets and vehicles. And so I don't want them just wreck installations. I want them. I want, when a ship comes into atmosphere, I want it to be more dangerous for that ship than it being in space. And that can be because of ground forces like the blister, and that can be because the ship is slower because it's flying in atmosphere. It could be that it has to use more of its thrust to keep itself airborne, that it burns more fuel, that if it gets hit because of gravity, like by a missile, it's more likely to just crash because it's been knocked off course or whatever, and that sort of stuff. If you crash into something, you've crashed. But I want it to be more dangerous and the ships to feel heavy, and for them to be super, super, super fast. So that's sort of what I wanted to see from hover mode, more than anything else, really. Is light salvaging going to be possible without a reclaimer? Yes. So they want to have, probably not in the first iteration, but they want to have some salvaging done by hand. In fact, some of the most lucrative salvaging will be finding ship components and weapons and stuff and cutting them free from the ship and bringing them back. They might be partly damaged, they might be totally damaged or whatever, but there might be salvageable components. It's stripping hulls, blowing parts off ships, and taking individual components and items. The Reclaimer's going to be able to do very heavy, salvaging. I would expect to see a full drone salvager ship as well, full drone utility ships maybe in the future. There's also going to be the Vulture, which is the small salvaging ship, but you should be able to do some salvaging by hand as well. At first iteration, we only have the Reclaimer, potentially some hand-based salvage, but I suspect it's more going to just be sort of hull mining with the Reclaimer. Hi Board, hope things are well. When is salvaging implemented? When salvaging is implemented, supposedly in 3.8, do you think the Reclaimer will be operational? I think it will be partly operational. I don't think we'll have the full drone functionality. I don't think it will be able to grab onto ships or anything like that. I think it will be very, very similar to mining. Although we do know that the Reclaimer is featured in Squadron 42, as we've already seen it in the vertical slice, which is being shown in the background. So maybe it will get a more functionality than I'm thinking in its first stage. Did they say when they will implement the system to place things like plants and other props on our ship? You can do that now. You can. So I think on my ship I've got a UE badge and some turtles. Have they fixed the Freelancer's headlights? I don't know. Leaving for ice cream is a totally valid reason to leave my stream. And in fact, good luck to you, sir. With Star Citizen being closer to a life sim than a space sim with clear progression, do you think the game's reception will suffer due to new players expecting a more conventional format? I think it purely depends on the sort of way that CIG expose the different roles to new players when they start playing the game. Yeah? So if you have to watch loads of guides on how to play the game before you play from external sources, that's not going to be great. But if you jump into the game and there's lots of different paths that you can take away from the beginning, or it teaches you about all of them while playing, that's great. You don't need necessarily clear progression. You need sort of the game to tell you what is possible, what isn't possible, how you can get there, and bam, you can do all these different things. You can do them in any way you want. They all allow you to do all these different other things, and these are all the gameplay mechanics. Go crazy. You can do lots of training missions for it. You can explain the sort of elements of the game, and that will probably have to evolve as the game goes on. But there'll be more and more different ways of playing the game. I will change the music down a bit. People who are attacking major gaming companies like EA for producing low-quality pay-to-win games do not complain about Star Citizen supposedly doing the same. It would not be right. What? What do you mean? They can complain about that. Look, so you can separate it into lots of different shades, okay? So, EA are much more evil than CIG, but it's because they're much more sort of beholden to shareholders and are running it. They're not making games for the love of making the game anymore. They're making it just to make money. They're a business that's gone full capitalist, and no one's sort of reined them in. And they are starting to get a bit more reined in now with making loot boxes illegal, and you saw the sort of the gambling stuff with GTA 5. The casinos banned in most countries, and then restricted in others to certain levels, which is a good thing. We don't want predatory gaming practices. We don't want loot boxes. Really, you want sort of Star Citizen is much more blessed for the fact that it's got a much older audience that have got a lot of disposable income. They're able to buy macro purchases rather than micro purchases or loot boxes. Star Citizen's not built on what could this thing be in this box. Although it is built on a lot of dreams and sort of expectations for mechanics, that is true. But yeah. But the thing with Star Citizen is that it's gone very much the opposite way with it's using all of its money to make the game. It doesn't look like it's lining the pockets heavily of Chris Roberts or any of the other key members of staff beyond their wages, although we can't 100% sure be that, of that. We do have figures for the business as a whole, but not individual salaries. But it doesn't look like that to me. They are taking a long time to make the game because they don't have a publisher. They're self-published, so they don't have anyone saying, well, you have to have this done by this date. Now that's a double-edged sword. Should mean, potentially, we get a significantly better game. And I think that this is very much a sort of like a mixture of trust, a little bit of faith, and that sort of stuff in a way of making a game that hasn't really been done before to this scale. I mean, nothing's been made to this scale before, admittedly. So there is a bit of trust there because it's not been done before. And the only sort of thing counterbalancing that is that the current way that companies try to make AAA and BBB games is pretty shit. Other than probably CG Projekt Red, which have got a very good record of making like games like The Witcher, and looks like Cyberpunk might be pretty good. Although I'm very excited about Cyberpunk. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best game ever because I don't know yet. I haven't played it. I've only seen the sort of tech demo and sort of like E3 demos that they've shown. I think people can criticize Star Citizen for, you know, funding model. You can criticize it on it. It doesn't mean you're right or wrong, but you can have an opinion on it. You can talk about it. That's fine. Be civil. I'm doing well, thank you very much. Sorry about the music being too loud earlier. It should be of a much better volume now. Any news on the Mantas concept ship? No, not beyond the fact that we believe it to be a 30-meter long heavy fighter going to be at Squadron 40, going to be at CitizenCon, revealed and go straight to live. Joseph, so pay to win can be defined in lots of different ways, but you can define pay to win as any advantage given. Yeah, so if you pay for something and you get any advantage, that could be construed as pay to win. You don't have to say that pay to win is like terrible and it's going to ruin the game, or pay to win is an evil demon. There are certainly different ranges of pay to win, but people can construe that as pay to win. So you can understand people are defining it like that. That's fine. Just sort of like find out the definition level and then talk about it. You don't have to be like talking definites all the time with things. Originally, however, up until relatively recently, pay to win was specific. So just so people know this, pay to win was specific. The people games getting paying to get an advantage which you could not get without paying for it. So that would be like an exclusive weapon that's slightly better. The thing that they basically did in Payday 2 briefly. Will there be aliens living alongside humans? Yes. Tavaran, which are the sort of like ancient samurai birdmen. There's going to be Xi'an, which I'm not sure how many Xi'an are actually in the human empire, but they are a neighboring empire which the humans had a Cold War with. And there's Banu, which I suspect will be very, very integrated into the human population because they're, you know, traders. It will be heavily in the human systems. They will be mostly human, though, by significant margin. Oh, greetings to Taiwan as well. Thank you very much. I just tried to land a Super Hornet at Lawville. It was trying to nail spaghetti to the wall with that hover mode. So yeah, when you just get close to the ground, I've done a video on it. Get close to the ground, you can hold X, level out, make sure that you're using your HUD, so that you can see where the horizon line is, and you can get used to where the pitch and pitch up and pitch down are when third-person camera as well if you want. That helps. But then just once you get to a nice level, then just strafe it in. I reckon if a goal in Star Citizen is to own a particular ship, then it's absolutely pay to win. but I think a lot of people want more out of Star Citizen than just a ship. Yeah, so I mean, Star Citizen, the idea it's a similar vein to Eve. I see. Do you think the Valkyrie needs a bigger hangar? Yes. For Lorville, 100%. Will some alien species live alongside humans? Yep, we said that already. How many gigs of memory does Star Citizen require? I would say at least... you can get away with 12, but at least 12. SSD is super important. How will I load cargo onto my A90 jump? Park outside the port and take another ship inside. So in 3.6.x, when it's released, it should only be spawnable at ArcCorp and Lorville to start with. And then you'll be able to buy cargo at those destinations. But landing it at another place in the short term, I don't know. You might be able to land it near outposts on planets, though it's pretty fucking big. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get it back out of atmosphere. But you might be able to land it by other outposts and sell and buy goods there as well. But maybe. We're getting with 3.8. They're planning to have ship-to-ship and ship-to-station docking in. So that this would allow the A90 jump to be spawned on stations like Port Olisar, literally dock to the side of it, and will allow the ship to dock to the side to load and unload cargo. Beyond that, how they're going to work cargo in the future, we're not 100% sure. We do know that there's going to be cargo commodity timers, so that would have you a time allotted for the amount of cargo you want to transfer, and costs associated with that as well. So if I want to put loads of cargo on my ship, it will cost me this fee and take half an hour, and the same if I want to take cargo off my ship, it will cost me this fee and cost how much and take half an hour, whatever. Did you get your 2080 Ti yet? Yes, I've ordered it. Should be here within the next couple of days. I went for one of the best ones I could find. It was a 2080 Ti gigabyte car. Bear with me. I will show you the one I actually got. It's a big one. It's a 3-slotter. That's what she said. Is it? Yes, it is. So I got this one, which is a big boy. It's a 3-slot one. It's one of the best rated ones. The Gigabyte Aorus. I'm a massive Gigabyte fan. I'm a bit of a Gigabyte fanboy because they are less of an evil corporation than other corporations I'm aware of. They are sort of like, they really focus on sort of like component quality and customer service. And they're not super massive like some of the other hardware manufacturers, so I really like them. But yeah. What I got? Yeah, in the next couple of days. You don't necessarily need to heavily increase the page file. Experiment with page file is probably a better idea. But I would start with just leaving the page file to system settings. Set it on one hard drive and let the system manage it to start with. But install Star Citizen on an SSD. That is essential. The game is paid to win. Moving on. Do you think ships should be able to lock onto missile trucks? Yes, but they have really low signatures, so you have to be close to them. They have to be hot for some reason. They have to be laser painted or whatever. I do expect we will see laser painting and ways of detecting things on the ground more easily, either with people having visuals on the ground. So the idea of using ground forces to attack a base, like laser marking and finding all these structures and vehicles, and then ships coming in to bombard them or strafe them, as well as the ground assault at the same time, is what I envision. What is the current state on persistence in the game right now? I've heard of people reliably logging in and out using their ship beds on moons and planets now. Yes. So as long as you're not literally logging out next to a major landing zone, your bed should work most of the time. So you can very, 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 very consistently log out in a ship bed and log back in and be there. And we'll have your cargo there and all that sort of stuff. Also, persistence with your weapons and changes to your ship is there. And you can bring items like turtles and whatever else, flare effectively, and put them in your ship and they will stay there. How does one apply for this Org Spotlight? If you go onto my Discord, then you can... there's a section for it there. I've also just recently said, does anyone want to be on an Org Spotlight for next month? So you can apply there if your org meets those requirements. But there is a literal section in my my Discord, which is for Org Spotlights to post about their org. Any news on the concierge meeting in Germany next month? No, beyond that it's on the 24th of August. I actually think I'm going on holiday around then. And it's going to announce a new ship or vehicle. We're expecting like an Aegis capital ship, but it's an Aegis concierge event. Expect a intimate-ish dinner and questions with Chris Roberts and some key members of staff. So I'd expect there to be Brian Chambers and people like that there as well. Hi all, have terrible frames anywhere, e.g. 0.5 FPS on the trains at Hurston for 15 seconds or so. Getting huge hitching. Okay, so you've got 8 gigs of RAM. So you're not running on the best PC, Patrick. Which should I upgrade first? In that setup, I'd get yourself up to 16 gigs of RAM as quick as you can. Make sure Star Citizen's on an SSD. And then... 16 gigs of RAM, and then try and move up to like a 2070 or something like that. Not to be the most expensive graphics card in the world, just has to be not a trash one. 970 is not trash, but it's older now. It's sort of like pretty low spec for what you need for Star Citizen. Your CPU out of that spec should be the last that you upgrade, because you're going to be bottlenecking on RAM and graphics card. Do you think the alpha testers were brought in a little too early into the development process? You could certainly argue that. Let me turn the music down even further. Sorry, there's different levels of music on each of the tracks. Yeah, so I think there's certainly an argument for that. Star Citizen would, I think, be made a lot quicker if they weren't producing polished modules every 3 months. A more polished experience every 3 months with the major patch releases, because they're sort of like having to, I don't know, waste time effectively, getting those patches out and then into a playable state, which I do think wastes a lot of time, but obviously it aids their funding model. With the release of 3.5, they talked about the first look at the Banu language. Any news on that? They've sort of... I don't know about the Banu. Obviously, we've got the Xi'an. I don't know. I'll have a look. Do you think Star Citizen will release a mining ship priced somewhere between the Prospector and the Orion for mining? Yeah, I'd expect to see a medium mining ship, or a sort of like all-you-can, a multi sort of utility medium sort of like drone ship, maybe? When do you think something like the RSI Orion will be flyable within the game? 4.0, 5.0, any guess? I suspect it will be a little bit later than that. So the Orion is massive, and it's not super essential for the game at the moment. It's just this huge mining ship. There's a lot of stuff going on there. They need probably to get object container streaming and maybe even server meshing in so that they can support such huge ships and lots of optimizations. So I would expect it at the earliest end of next year, more likely a couple of years away. Is the 315p nose hardpoint a tractor beam or something else entirely? It's a tractor beam, and I'm not sure if it's going to be swappable in the future. Do you get Star Citizen fatigue, and if so, how do you handle it? I ask because I feel like throwing it through the window and it's buggy as hell, but on top of the world when it goes okay. It's different for me, Yoza. So I sort of cover Star Citizen as a job, so I don't care that it's buggy so much. But I don't find it as infuriating as other people. It's just what it is. So I talk about it in that sort of manner. I only have a couple of turtles / terrapins at the moment. Little tail boys that I've got from Area 18. I did have loads of them at one point. Obviously, they got reset. Yeah, so I'm expecting in the next couple of weeks, hopefully by the end of... well, I'd hope by the end of this week, but I would expect within the next couple of weeks them to have a bit of a reworked 3.7, so we can see the changes that they've sort of got planned for that. Do you think missile trucks are overpowered in the game? No, not at the moment, nor do I think they've got much use at the moment. You've got no reason to defend the ground or ground structures. You've got no missions based on it. You can't move them around planets. You have to spawn them at particular outposts. So you can't drive them particularly far. Nothing will carry them. So at the moment, they don't have much use in game. And I want there to be ground defenses, which mean that you have to approach installations and areas on the ground. So missile trucks and other ground defenses will provide a needed element to the game. Dismissing it as muddying the waters isn't fair either. I'm saying that you saying it's pay to win, and then just saying it's pay to win, moving on is not a fair analysis. It's not a game at the moment. That's too low resolution. You need to look at it in more detail and then talk about it. What I've said is accurate and correct. Yeah, exactly. HeavyBod defines pay to win as any advantage you can pay for is pay to win. Bam. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. $1,000 watt power supply? What are we talking about there? I want a 750 watt power supply. That should be enough for my my setup. Oh, I see. If you put two 2080 Ti's in your system, that would require 1,000 watt. Yes, it would. Am I going to the dinner? No. I tried to get a ticket, but I wasn't able to. And I specifically won't take stuff off CIG, which can be construed as favours, or look like the back of money's being spent on me. So until they release a product, once they release a product, I'm much more willing to accept shit from them, potentially see what it is. But I would always fully disclose anything that I got from them and why I got it. Do you know more about Horizon besides the info on the roadmap? Yeah, so Horizon is the Cloud City at Crusader. They've been building out the shopping district there and sort of like the legal office, because there's going to be the Crusader sort of like security office there, which is mentioned in lore. It's going to be this floating Cloud City with lots of platforms not necessarily connected together entirely, so there'll be a transit system to move between them. And I believe the shipyard is, the landing zone and shipyards are separate from the main sort of like shopping concade. But I don't know much more beyond that. They've been working on specific gas cloud tech for Crusader to have it as a gas giant, and Horizon's going to be floating above that. It's an interesting one because effectively with Crusader, it's sort of like one major landing zone there. I suppose it depends on how far the shipyards are away as well, because that would be one of the places that you buy and service capital ships or larger ships at their shipyards. Yeah, so when I talk about them doing polished products, it wasn't sarcasm, but that's the way they try to show them, isn't it? They try to, for their marketing purposes, they try to have them as sort of like as these more polished things than they are at all. I mean, they are alpha. Why even try and polish an alpha release? But they do try. They do polish it. It doesn't mean that it's great and working and functional and shiny polished, but they are trying to polish it. And I don't think it's great for the speed of the project, nor do I think it's what I would do either. Like I'd like a much more rawer console when we can spawn stuff in and mess around with the game in a more developer level and without so much of them trying to get full gameplay loops in or polished gameplay loops in or whatever. What are your thoughts of a Gravlev tank? Maybe. I mean, you couldn't have it firing heavy ballistics, because otherwise it would go... so you'd have to have it at, like, laser weapons and railguns and things, I think, potentially. Unless they had auto-stabilization, I suppose, when it fires. Gravlev tank, maybe. Definitely other Gravlev vehicles and Gravlev military vehicles, yeah. Aside from the locations and ships, what features are not on the roadmap that would be a necessity for Star Citizen to launch? I'm doing a video on that at the moment. I'm writing a script for it. Quite a complex topic because there's lots and lots of features. Will we be able to spawn the 890 jump in Hangar or a private Arena Commander fly mode, so not to burden the server as well as privacy? I haven't heard of it being in Arena Commander, although I would like to be able to spawn it in Hangar or Arena Commander or whatever. I think that's a good shout with all ships to be able to mess around with them. But yeah, you'll be able to spawn it at what we know as Lorville and at Area 18. But that's in the persistent universe. And that's all I know. We need a super long-range anti-missile system beyond visual range. This way you're forced to land and drive in it. I mean, there's going to be environmental hazards, and I think the idea with the ground vehicles and ground defenses is they have very low signatures, so they would be incredibly hard to detect in a ship before they are able to detect and fire at you. In that sense, they will force you to land. I hear a lot of people talking about Squadron 42 having more developers than Star Citizen. Is that just a myth? So a lot of the stuff is both. Is for both. Do you see what I mean? So there's a huge portion of transferable tech between Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. A lot of that tech is going into Squadron 42 first before Star Citizen. I would expect there to be a good portion more people working on Squadron 42 overall than just on Star Citizen's persistent universe at this stage. Will there be FPS missions that are local to the planet you're on, that you can drive to rather than fly to? I believe that's one of their goals, yeah, to be able to move around and actually have missions that are more suitably on the ground. It's a bit weird when they've got this huge amount of space and scale. that you have to use a spaceship to get to each of these missions all the time. So I'm hoping as well that we have more localized missions that we can just do within driving range that isn't like a half-an-hour drive. But we need ground defense missions. We need longer term contracts that are defense based and stuff like that. We need our own outposts and that sort of stuff. I'm an explorer, escorts and bounty hunting to fund me. Would you recommend the Terrapin or Vanguard Warden? Both seem suitable for long-ish solo exploring, but which would you pick up and why? The long-range-ish solo exploring. Terrapin is more sort of like a short to mid-range scouting and ship, and it's going to be very useful, the Terrapin, in sort of like more hostile environments. It's very, very, very tanky. I would expect it to be much more useful in dangerous environmental hazards, but also if there's a high likelihood that you'd get attacked, so that you could, you know, get out of that. It's super tanky. Vanguard Warden, long-range fighter. Yeah, it's got the range, but it might not necessarily. I suppose you'll be able to customize it to be reasonable at exploring, but not as a focused exploring ship. I wouldn't refer to the Terrapin really as a long-range explorer. So neither, in my opinion. Consider getting a Corsair. Do you think room count will become a defining metric? I think it should. I'll probably be adding room count to my ship buyer's guides. Did you hear about the potential leak regarding a new system coming at the end of the year? Word has it that will be the next system coming in. So, Zarian, this is interesting because obviously I've said for quite a long while, over a year now, that I suspect the plan is for them to build the Pyro and or Magnus system, and then build Nyx, and then chain that to the Odin system. That just makes sense. We obviously have Dalamar already, which is Nyx. Now, this leak that you're talking about comes out of Star Citizen Live from the other day, where they exposed some of their folder and desktop structure, which had a folder in it basically saying the Nyx system, whatever. But that could have just been where Dalamar is contained for them, assets for that. They also had Earth Test and Moon Test, I think, as well, that I saw. But yeah, that could just be Dalamar that we've got at the moment. But also, yeah, I am expecting to see a jump point and probably a new system or two, even if it's just very procedural and very basic, at CitizenCon. And it makes sense that the Nyx system, as I said earlier, is one of those that we'll see. Pyro, Nyx, they're connected as well. I don't think we'll have them in our hands by the end of this year. Maybe middle of next year. Maybe for 4.0. Will there be roads and cities that we can drive on when Stanton's done? We know that they are building or have previously worked on a procedural road system. We're not sure of to what extent we will be able to drive within cities and those sort of networks. There's an expectation and want for that, but they sort of like keep on talking about it and going, oh, well, you might not be able to drive from landing zone to landing zone, and they sort of like talk about it and they haven't sort of like, I don't think they fully decided. I would expect to see roads, but I'm not sure if what sort of function they're going to have. Do you expect to see a Javelin at CitizenCon? Yeah, I expect to see a Javelin. I think the Javelin's pretty done. I think a lot of those big ships that they need for Squadron 42 are probably done now. Or near done. When do you think we'll see more gameplay loops? From patch to patch, but 3.8 should see salvage, hopefully. After Squadron 42 is feature complete, so starting from Q3 next year, I would expect to start to see more and more gameplay loops coming into the persistent universe. Love you, Dingo Warrior. Take care, mate. What do you hope they will announce at CitizenCon this year? What do you want the most? Squadron 42 release date is my hope. The most. It makes sense they'll start to advertise it more aggressively. I'd like to see Titan suits drivable, flyable, straight into game, or at least go on concept sale. And we know there's potentially the RSI Mantas as well, the heavy fighter. I'd like to see jump points, new systems, alien animals, potentially some of the aliens. Whether they just be Vandal or Xian and Banu, but more likely to be the Banu and the Vandal race-wise at the moment. 3.8 gameplay, 3.9 gameplay with Orison and New Babbage, so Microtech and Crusader. An updated road to release, much more sensible one. They've been doing testing on server-side object container streaming and full persistence, so hopefully we'll see some performance gains or something like that for that. I'd like to see capital ship battles updated, a vertical slice of Squadron 42. There's lots and lots of stuff I'd like to see that I think potentially they could show like that. But what I want the most is a Squadron 42 release date. Do you think the system requirements of the game will become less or more intensive as the game development continues? Thanks. It will be more scalable, so it'll be both less and more intensive, but you'll get better and better quality for less and less system requirements, effectively. They want Vulkan integration, and then there's going to be a huge amount of actual optimizations for the game, probably once Squadron 42 is feature complete beta, and that's when they sort of like, they'll get all the quality and optimization stuff in, which I'm very much looking forward to. Star Citizen might actually be at its core, have all its core components in anyway, and be pretty playable and pretty fun. If Squadron 42 Alpha is coming Q1 next year, which I think that's optimistic, but possible. Optimistic, though. When do you think the Idris will be added into the persistent universe? When Squadron 42 is live. I don't think... It will probably be on, like... It will go into the persistent universe probably on the same day that Squadron 42 is released. I suspect they will try and hype the shit out of everything. If Star Citizen Rose and Mouth Breathers will turn it into Space GTA. I suspect most planets with roads, not all, with roads, are less likely to become GTA in space. It's more going to be the Wild West areas, which are less likely to be heavily inhabited and less likely to have roads, that are more likely to become the Wild West zones. Anywhere there's going to be roads or security, and the UEE sort of zones, they are going to be very hard to be a criminal in. You secretly hope that they'll release the Merchantman release for another sale. I'm almost certain that you'll be able to buy the Banu Merchantman again on the 23rd of November, or around that date, around the Anniversary Expo and CitizenCon. As Bob Smith says. Star Citizen is Space GTA. I own a Hully to ram people. Shit. So I've just started playing Eve again. I occasionally stop playing Eve for huge periods of time, but because there's been such a shake-up, I want to see if it's viable to do small-scale PvP and high risk, high reward sort of gameplay against players and PvE scenarios. So I'm getting into that with a few other people. How do you know which ships are limited stock during the anniversary? They'll say, but it's typically things like the 890 Jump and the Javelin and other ships, the Idris, Javelin. Phoenix, 890. Hey, Bored, I was watching some of your older videos on the channel before you came to Star Citizen channel. The cringe. Much love, though. Pfft. It is what it is, isn't it? Started, didn't know what the fuck I was doing. It's terrible. You know, it's all good. Less cringy now, more cringy. Who gives a fuck, mate? It is what it is. I don't really have much in the way of shame when it comes to stuff like that. It's, you know. Fighting Combat 2 jank. Yeah, I mean, there's a huge amount of improvements they need to make, both of them. I also think that sort of like they're pissing against the wind in some respects before they get all the mechanics in. We need physicalized components. We need all of these the main gameplay systems that ship combat and flight are dependent on before they try and finish and balance it. We need to get them all in, then work on all of them to get it all into a good place. So it's a weird situation. Also, I noticed back then BoredGamer was like a group company rather than just you. It is, well, so I was trying to produce it as a more of a group. Zin and Kit and all the people that sort of joined me back then are still there. I'm actually going to be employing Zinnia soon, full-time as an editor and as a partner to create content with, because I'm terrible at editing. I'm just terrible at it. I have no, I'm very functional as a sort of like editor. So like, cut it here, voice. But I want someone to help me make content and to get a bit of a flair for editing's. Oh, Verpine, for $20 of monies for making my Monday work better than it began. Oh, I appreciate it. Very sweet. Okay, so contacting CS apparently helps with finding out if something's limited or if you're unable to get it. I wouldn't expect CS to help you all the time, but why not ask? Will you be able to buy lifetime insurance for ships that you purchase in-game? I don't 100% know, actually. We don't really know how they're going to handle insurance. Basically, they have to now make lifetime insurance a minor perk only, but I suspect they'll make that so that lifetime insurance is just a little bit better than not having insurance on the hull of your ship. But most people will want to, and most of the expensive ships will probably be the components that people have changed, weapons components, cargo, subcomponents, all that sort of stuff, which will need to be insured separately or as part of a different insurance package. Bearded gamer. I am growing a beard. Zara, are you playing in 3.6 or 3.6.1? Are you playing in the PT or the live build? There's obviously some problems with the live build. There's obviously some problems with the PT build. I was grinding bounty missions, even in the very, very, very laggy Grim Hex. I was grinding bounties in 3.6, but then decided to move to Hurston. I went around. I'd gone to Hurston to then grind bounties there, which were much more lucrative because no one else was around there, and I didn't have 0 frames per second. How will salvage work if you get all your weapons back from when you do an insurance claim? Do you suspect they will revert this? That's an interesting one. I think that you'll have to cut weapons away by hand. I also think that you won't just be able to salvage any ship in any space. So if a ship is claimed back on insurance in lawful space, you might not have salvage rights to it. Yeah? So I think there's going to be sort of like illegal salvage and black market salvage. So yeah, you can cut away the weapons, and but if you're detected with them or parts of a ship that you salvaged that wasn't in sort of like 0-sec space, then that's a crime, or you have to sell them to the black market. So the black market could work very well with that. Obviously needs to be balanced in some way. I also suspect that when you cut away weapons with your salvaging tools or whatever, there's percentage chances that they'll be damaged, or they will just be damaged when the ship is being scrapped or whatever. There's obviously going to be ways that people will try and commit insurance fraud effectively. So I suspect that will happen in the short term, hopefully while the game's only in alpha, and then they'll work out systems around that. I think soft body physics adds the sort of like jiggle physics, and also like deformations, better ragdolls, impacts to bodies will look better. I think that's basically what soft body physics is. Where can I buy a hacking chip? You can buy them in Grimhex in Ruto's room off a shelf. You can buy them in Levski, down in Levski Bazaar opposite the plant vendor in Little Suitcase, and you can buy them at Cubby Blast in Area 18. Boom. Oh, see, the people are fucking helpful in this chat now. Andrew? Who's Andrew? Oh, the guy that asked it. Oh, that's the guy that asked it. You can buy them from Andrew? Okay. That makes sense. Heston is garbage. Why do you say that, Heavy Bob? Are you talking about frame rate wise? Are you talking about trying to land there? Are you talking about all areas of it? Buys Reclaimer. Okay, time to salvage. Gets out Reclaimer to cut off weapons. So I think the idea with the Reclaimer is that it's in the same way the Orion exists, is that it's big scale nom salvage. So you can have a big battle site or huge amount of salvage, or a big ship to salvage, and you just, well, it's more valuable just to quickly nom up as quickly as possible the hull and just large quantities of stuff. Doing small scale salvage in the Vulture, much more profitable to cut off the weapons, put them in the ship, and then just strip off the more expensive elements of a ship. But the Reclaimer can do it all. If you've got a whole crew, then some of the crew will be out cutting away weapons and systems of the ships while you're stripping down and blowing parts of the hull off. Doing it all. Yeah, there needs to be sensible gameplay loops there, and not ones that are just there for, oh yeah, so you can salvage all these ships, but you can just get any ship with a cargo bay and actually just cut off the weapons and systems and bring them back, and you make more money technically, or just as much money. So they do need ways of going, well, salvage very much has its own role, and is sensible as an economic way of doing things, of the balances sensibly in the economy. I don't know what I'm trying to fucking say there. Has there been any estimate when the server count will go up? Potentially, with server-side object container streaming and full persistence. However, it's more likely to go up as soon as they have static server meshing. Made a good amount of money doing mining, actually. Just nomming up all of the materials in an area and then flying back and forth, just doing it as quickly as possible. Missions seem particularly viable. Bounties just seem to be the best way of making money, in my opinion. There's low risk. There's supposed to be cargo commodity timers coming in 3.9, I believe. So there will be times associated with loading, unloading, and costs associated with that. Have you heard anything about the MMO elements of the new physical inventories coming soon? The MMO elements, so we know basically physical inventories means no more magical bags of holding. You carry on you what you can physically carry on you in the pockets or directly on your armor or on attachment points. And then you'd need to store armor, EVA suits, weapons, equipment in different places in your hull, hangar, hab, whatever, to be able to have access to them. I think the idea as well is that they don't want players to be able to sit in every seat wearing the heaviest armor. They want to encourage players to not be wearing armor all the time, potentially not even flight suits and helmets all the time, sort of thing. But the idea of physical inventories is really interesting because that will mean that players aren't always going to have all of their gear on them all the time, and there will be a sort of quick fitting of their equipment and stuff, where they're rushing out to do missions or they get attacked or boarded or whatever. Do we know if there's going to be gameplay around having to feed our characters before they starve? It would make plants and meat useful in game. So there is the player status system that's coming. There's basically coming with that is light survival mechanics. It tracks. So at the moment, the game tracks oxygen, your stamina, your health. But they want to. They want to increase that to inebriation, hygiene, tiredness, hunger and thirst. So there will be reasons to eat in game. It looks like it's going to be extremely light survival mechanics, so don't expect you have to eat or you die, and don't expect to have to eat and drink constantly. But having those facilities available to you will mean you don't get like effectively stamina debuffs and oxygen debuffs. Have there been any mentions of backpacks or luggage when it comes to physical inventories? Well, we know there's a sort of like luggage backpacky vest that they've got in going, but I suspect there will be backpacks, but it's all going to be stuff that the backpack could hold. It will probably just add more attachment points or the ability to hold a small amount of cargo rather than much else. Most sort of like useful items will be carried on you in attachment points or holsters or whatever. What needs to happen to snubs like the Argo cargo to make them effective? Currently their range seems too limited to be of any use. They are pretty limited in use. They're to help like capital ships move cargo around and effectively move around fleets and things like that more than anything else. They're not supposed to have this huge range of use. Very much also as an NPC ship, so they can make the game look more alive. It's like the living, breathing environments. Do you know there's any progress with the weather system? I know there was someone working on it, but I'm not sure if it was put on. I'm not sure if they were moved on to another project and are working on it on the sort of like backlog. If not, the whole calculations, will there at least be clouds or even rain in the atmosphere first? So yeah, we're supposed to have dynamic weather. I'm not sure when. I know my radar have been updating their app. There's a real-life weather app, and they have like planets and things like that in Star Citizen modeled, and they've just updated it with more. And you can even save locations and stuff now. But so I'm expecting that my radar want to get weather in Star Citizen. Do you know if there's any progress? No, that's what we just talked about. But oh, so transferring ownership of items. So yeah, that I'm not sure what's going to happen with that in the shorter term. Like obviously, until we have got no more resets, trading stuff. Well, I suppose they could get it in and it just resets every so often. I'm expecting to get mission sharing and better party systems and permissions first. I would hope that we'd potentially have mission sharing in 3.7. That might be massively over-optimistic, but that's what I want. That's one of the most important things I think the game needs at the moment. Mission sharing and then the ability to move funds from player to player. I'll happily have free items. Free items, even murder weapons. I expect anything that has the potential to be criminal would say it was a criminal item before you traded it, or maybe you wouldn't be able to trade it in public forums. You could only trade it from player to player. It would say, "Warning: this item is illegal," or "This is a black market item," or something like that. So there's a couple of things I actually wanted to do. So this week I'm planning to get my 2080 Ti installed in my PC. That should allow me to potentially get 4K 60 frames footage for recorded. If not, then it will be 1440p, very, very high quality footage, so that I can do some gameplay loops and get some better B-roll for my videos. It should improve the quality of everything and actually speed up the compiling videos and stuff. So that should be really useful, and we'll get that in this week. A longer term project that I want to sort of like start looking at is potentially doing some Star Citizen Choose Your Own Adventure videos on YouTube. So literally have like Choose Your Own Adventure or the Darkroom, Your Own Darkroom videos. You have an intro video, and then it sort of like asks you what role you want to be. You're a bounty hunter, or you can be a cargo hauler or whatever, and then it gives you a load of different options for what you do and sort of scenarios, and you sort of like go, are you going to do this or this? Are you going to fight this guy or run? Are you going to blah blah blah? And with each of those choices will be a different video that you can watch. It's just choose your own adventure like that, blah 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 blah. Narrated partly, do some voice acting for it as well. I just thought that'd be a cool little thing to do. I think those kind of videos are really cool. It's something that I'd like to see in the Star Citizen community. I need to get some other people involved and sort of like organise them. But yeah, I'm thinking of doing something like that. In the short term, I want to do 3.6 gameplay loops, start cataloguing all of the gameplay in Star Citizen and how it evolves and how it's changing. There's some more major things I want to look at. Okay, Star Citizen roadmap to completion. And lots of people keep on asking what things aren't on the roadmap for Star Citizen. What do we need to get Star Citizen completed? What all the features they've sort of talked about are. So I want to do a brief video. Well, won't be a brief video, but it'll be a brief. It'll be a video summarising each of the major features that Star Citizen needs to get completed and sort of where we might expect to see them ish. And I won't have a full breakdown of that, and there might be additional features that might come along in the future, or additions to some of those features. But I want to get something like that out soon. Squadron 42 roadmap to completion as well. Obviously, we sort of have that already, but we are getting closer to Squadron 42 now, so I want to talk about that a bit more. What else did I want to get done in the near future? People got ideas for content, I'd love to hear it. So one of the things I wanted to do on Mondays was sort of like do some content plans for the week. Twerk ran a charity stream yesterday, in fact, where he was raising money for bipolar charity, which is actually fantastic, and depression. I think they raised over $1,800 in the end, so fucking a good job. Got the giveaway for next month. 31 days in this month. Yeah, so on Wednesday or Thursday, we'll select a winner for that 890 jump from my radar. Love you, my radar. Mwah. Might take a look at Game Glass in a bit more detail. We need to do a video on Game Glass. I need to do a video on my radars. Updates for Star Citizen. So the gameplay loops for 3.6.1 are what I want to do largely over the next couple of weeks. Yeah. I pause the music. Oh, I'm so sorry. Pre-recorded, GR. Pre-recorded the brief video. Who do you think you are, Noobfire? I was the original compressor of information. Noob just does it to a much better level than I do. Then I started to fluff mine out a bit. I'm new to the channel and a Star Citizen. Do you know why the game won't let me expedite my ship claims? Every time I file a claim, it just says, I've already expedited it. It says, wait 0 seconds, but I have to wait a long time. No, Jess, I'm not sure why that happens. Are you sure? I know there were problems with ship claims. But every time, so you can't reclaim your ship at all. So expediting a ship should be shouldn't be 0 seconds. It should be like a few minutes. And what ship is it? You need my extended video goodness. That's good. I like that. I used to use voice attack, but I haven't used it for a while. It's been good for combat. It's useful. It just gives you voice controls as well at the same time as using your mouse and keyboard or sticks and all that sort of jazz, whatever you're using. It's an extra way of playing the game. Good for missiles. Good for comms. Good for lots of doing shield groupings and more fiddly controls and things. Very immersive as well. Is there any way of installing the PTU over the PU? Yeah, so you can literally copy and paste the contents of the folder into the other folder. And then you can update it, typically. Also now, the game launcher is for the PTU and the live build, so that's more useful. Will you colour your ships all in one way or each differently? Do you want some kind of logo? I don't know. I haven't decided. It's going to be based on what options are available. I typically like quite clean looking ships. So I like white, I like silver. Or I like to go BoredGamer yellow. Gimbals, yay or nay, and why? Yes, so gimbals are cool. They need to balance gimbals. We need physical components on ships. We need auto gimbals balanced. We need fixed weapons balanced. We need all the combat systems to be in. So yeah, I'm totally up for gimbals. I think they're a good idea. I just, we need lots of other systems in place in them to be balanced. Avnos, no worries. Thanks for the love. Andrew Brown, thank you very much for the super chat as well. I didn't see that. I love your face. Because there was no message attached. Very much appreciated. Legends, thank you very much, Verpine and Andrew Brown again. Yeah, appreciated. Much appreciated. Any chance you can do a video on how to properly search add to create bug reports? Don't I have one already? I could do an updated one, and then I could do how to get involved with the issue council, how to report bugs, how to do that concisely and sensibly, and how to search for... yeah, okay. Okay. I like that idea for content. Genuinely useful. Issue Council Guide. Best practices. Right. Do you think we'll have another system by Q4 2020? Yes. I think we'll have the Pro and or Nyx system by then. And potentially even Magnus. But I think that they don't have to have the systems finished to have them in. They'll be working on jump points. I hope we see jump points at CitizenCon. And I think that it makes sense for them now to, as Stanton's nearly completed, at least in rough, they can move on to other systems. It just makes sense. Do you have one, or can you do a video, a tutorial on how to tweak your ship's systems, power stealth, and overclocking? Yes. I'll do a brief overview of how to do it all. Ships, systems, and power stealth. And blocking. No worries. Cool. Thank you very much, Collector CNC and Matt T. I will probably try and get those done in the not too distant future. Do you think the Titan suit will have a concept sale at the end of the year? So they don't need to concept it. They could concept variants of it. They could concept modules and weapons and stuff for it. But the Titan suit, they've already have a concept. They already wanted in Squadron 42. So it's more likely to be closer to being ready towards CitizenCon than them needing to concept it. I do expect it will have some form of sale, whether that's a sale when it's ready or a sale... I mean, maybe it will be, yes, the base model is ready and we've got lots of other plans and weapons and attachments and shit for it that you can also buy now, but it won't be ready for a while. And that's the sort of sale I would expect for the Titan suit. And yeah, maybe for the end of this year. I'd expect them to sell it at CitizenCon. It makes sense. It would make a fuck ton of money. For your AC bill, ooh, stay cool, board. I haven't got my air conditioner on at the moment because obviously it would be like in my microphone. Is there a big difference between size 3 and size 1 missiles? Yes, hugely so. With the rumbling reels of the Blister or Cyclone, will they attract the attention of giant sandworms? But dragonflies and noxes will not. We've actually seen a dragonfly munched on by a sandworm in that sort of like scripted tech demo when they had the like original procedural planet tech, or the V2 of it. So we don't know how animals are going to work. We don't know how these like giant sandworms are going to work. I'd expect everything to attract their attention though. It'd just be noise. It would still create vibration, won't it? Maybe the rumbling wheels of Ballista or Cyclone will more likely attract them. It's Pyro, not Pyro. That's how I fucking want it, mate. Get it changed by common usage. That will annoy people. Jump points at CitizenCon would be amazing. If you're going to guess, how do you think the mechanics are going to work? I suspect it will just be more of a... It won't be much interaction, if any interaction at all in jump point. It would just be effectively a loading screen between systems. I think that's for a mapped jump point. I think there might be gameplay mechanics for finding and mapping jump points that are yet unmapped. If you're taking content requests, could you do a video on what we know about ground combat in Star Citizen, what we've heard, where we are, and what's going on? Yes, I can, Ash. Ground combat and gameplay, what we know. You're my hero, BoredGamer. I'm certainly the low barrier for a hero. And a good role model in that case, because it's obtainable by everyone. Thanks. Thanks, Matt T. Appreciate it. It's a lot of love. If anyone's got any other content requests, I'm happy to listen. Are there plans for a second galaxy? Galaxy, no. As far as I'm aware. I mean, there might be a jump point that technically took you to another galaxy in the future. Other star systems, yes. When? We don't know. I am expecting to see jump points that will take you to another star system at potentially CitizenCon this year, and I would expect to see new systems in for next year. Can I buy ships in-game now? Yes. At Teacher's Ship Shop on Levski, at Astro Armada in Area 18 on ArcCorp, and New Deal on in Lawville on Heston. Some of them are really expensive, but there's pretty easy ways of making money in game at the moment, and they don't persist the ships. Every 3 months there's a big reset, so bear that in mind. Big reset every 3 months, so you'll lose all your Alpha UVC and Alpha UVC purchases. They're reset. However, some point in the next couple of months, we're getting a 3.6 branch patch that will have ship rentals in the persistent universe as well. So that's a significantly cheaper amount of Alpha UVC to rent a vehicle for 1, 3, 5, 7 days, around that, at a time. When subsystem targeting is finally fully implemented, do you see the 890's backside as a huge weakness, as there are no turrets I know of defending the engines? Potentially. So some of the capital ships are going to have big holes in their defenses because they're just so large. But they're supposed to fly in fleets. They're supposed to support people in fleets. They're not supposed to just entirely fly solo. So yes, there's certainly going to be things like the 890 jump is going to have weaknesses in a fight because, well, number one, it's not a full-on combat ship, although it does have some good combat defenses. It won't be able to defend every area of it, yeah. Blind spots are probably the worst thing about capital ships. Medical gameplay items, where are they? So in the shorter term, you're going to be able to use medipens to stab into people, to sort of like stabilize them, get them up, whatever. They have to drag them probably. That's the sort of medical gameplay we'll have in the very, very short term. And then they want more medical gameplay, more medical kits and items for different wounds and injuries and different levels of healing. So bandages to stop bleeding or whatever, or whatever, tools to stop bleeding. Some to literally just get people back on their feet so they can get to a better medical facility. Ways of stabilizing people. Probably sort of like different things for different types of injury. So if you're burnt, it's going to be different from if you're bleeding to if you've been had a crippled limb. But we're not sure when that's coming in, the more advanced gameplay for that. And then there's supposed to be sort of like tiered medical gameplay for different stations on like the trash tier 3 medical bays in the Cutlass Red, for example. I'm assuming they're like the lowest tier. Just for stabilizing patients in very, very, very small injuries. But you can stabilize them until they can get to an Endeavour Hospital, which will have tier 1 places, or the Apollo, which might have a range of different medical facilities. I wouldn't say the new system is suspected to be Nix based on the leak that was on Friday, that then some YouTubers made videos on. Nix linked Nix confirmed as the next new system. It's not confirmed, and that is a very, very terrible. It's not confirmed. It's very possible. It has been for a while. I suspected it for a while that we'll have Magnus Pro Nix as the next systems, and then them making a pathway to the Odin system. That just makes sense, especially seeing that they have Delamar, which is supposed to be in the next system and will be moving there when it is done. Are there missile racks on the ballista bespoke, or can we swap them for different sizes? I don't know. I suspect you can swap them for different missiles, but I'm not sure about different sizes. I suspect they are bespoke. Will 3.6.1 reset? Maybe. We don't know. Good morning, board, and thanks for the entertainment during my commute. No worries, Dalamars. I love your face. How come you don't do too many ship walkthroughs? I follow a couple of other YouTubers that do, but you have a good point of view. What do you mean, Matt T? What do you want? What do you want from me? Do you want me to do like mythologists, sort of walking around the internals and talking about the ships in a lot more detail? I wasn't, so I want to do that in my ship bias guides because I used to do that a lot. But we seem to be on a cusp within a few months of ships being in a place that it's reasonable to talk about them and how they balance to other ships. And we're not sure if we're there yet. But what do you mean? What sort of content are you talking about? With ship rentals, do you think you will rent ships by real time or in game time? Real time. So you can rent a game for 1, 3, or 5 real days or 200 hours playtime. I expect it will be done in real days. What's my favourite ship? There's lots. I love the Orion. I love the Banning Merchantman. I love the Carrack. I love the Reclaimer. At the moment, I've got a lot of hype for the 890 jump because it's coming soon, and for the Carrack. So probably the Carrack than the 890 jump at the moment. It changes quite regularly.
I'm gonna buy so many spaceships.
Oh, Penda. Thank you very much. I heard something, but the alert didn't come up. Thank you very much for the donation, Penda. I love your face. I will buy many spaceships, or in fact... So, current donation goal is holiday, so it's not a proper holiday. In August, I'm going away, the weekend coming up, for the weekend to go up and see one of my friends, and I've got the ability to potentially stream while I'm away, so maybe I'll stream vloggy type stuff and talking about things. Maybe even able to make Star Citizen content while I'm away. I go for like a couple of days on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. But maybe we'll try and use this GoPro, and I've got a selfie stick. Oh, I've broken it. Selfie stick, so I can be an annoying prick. But yes, so, but also. I'm going away for a private LAN party 23rd, 24th, around that of August, which is around the same day as the concierge event, which will probably be the same time that a ship's announced, so that'll be annoying, but I'll be able to get content on that when I get back. Beer money, that's what the donation goal's for at the moment. Beer money for that. I'm going to eat and drink and chill. I needed a bit of a chill out for a while. With ship rentals, do you think it'll... we've already talked about that. What do we know about Orc-owned areas of the game for Orc bases and whatnot? We don't. We know that you're going to be able to land claim areas in UEE-based territory, which will be then effectively your land and for the law system. So people trespassing on that area, if they don't get off in time, they will become a criminal, or you'll be able to deal with them as you want, or your defences will be able to shoot them freely, things like that. If they're in your land. That's the idea with that. But there's also going to be areas that are more Wild West, which are, you don't need those land claims. You'll just be holding those areas in zero-sec space effectively, where there's need security and no laws, by the power of your guns and whatever defences you've got. And we don't know what sort of levels of, will there be Orc hangars? We suspect so, yes, but we don't know. Shareable ships like that, probably. There's going to be a permission system on ships for crewmen and that sort of stuff. But they're working on that at the moment. Orc stuff's going to be, it's one of the major pillars of the game. And they said that last year that they wanted to try and get server-side object container stream, full persistence, organization gameplay and party gameplay, and server meshing in. Those are the pillars of the game at the moment. My freelancer max is unplayable, no engines. Yeah, so there was a problem with reclaiming ships. Try and reclaim it again. If it doesn't work, then CS ticket, but 3.6.1 hopefully should fix that for you. .6.1 is currently on the PTU. When do you think we'll see space transportation mechanics like Star Citizen Taxi? You can do that now. It's just that only players can respond to the pick me up and take me to this location. You can do that with service beacons now. You can literally say, I need transport from here to here. And someone, based on, and then you pay however much you want. and then someone will eventually take that potentially. Eventually, NPCs will also take that, and I'm expecting to see more public transport and better services from like planet to planet. So like Genesis Starline is taking you from large distances. Will changes in Odin due to Squadron 42 be apparent in the PU Odin? I suspect so. I mean, it'll be relatively dynamically generated content there as well. So then if a station's destroyed in Squadron 42, it'll be destroyed in the persistent universe. Do you see what I mean? Oh, Penda, you're a legend. Thank you. Love my face back. Well, I love you more back. You're my favourite. You've donated the most money this stream. You and Verpine. I love you guys. Genuinely, thank you, all of you. GR, I love you. Andrew, I love you. You're all the best. Calamars, you're pretty good. No, I love you. You know I do. Thinking about upgrading my character to a hull D. Do you think that's a good idea? I would wait. The carrack's going to be in your hands at the end of this year, potentially. So wait until you've got it. Play with it. I suspect also the carrack will go up in value once it's flyable. So hold on to your carrack is my opinion. When will the next patch come out? So 3.7 is pegged to come out end of September. That's when I expect that to come out, the next major patch. 3.6.1 is currently on the PTU, so I'd expect a live build by the end of this week with 3.6.1. With the 3.6 patch with the 890 jump and ship rentals, I'd expect by the end of August. The jet-setting lifestyle of BoredGamer, indeed. No progress in the persistent universe of Squadron 42? What is CIG doing? What? They're making progress. What are you talking about? At the moment, they're trying to get 3.6 point whatever the fuck, the 3.6 branch over with and done. Then they'll give us a rescheduled 3.7 roadmap. Obviously, they're working on some stuff for Squadron 42 and the Star Citizen Persistent Universe all the time, but most of their focus is on Squadron 42 Episode 1. What's the estimated time for 3.6.1 to go live? I would expect it by the end of the week, as I said. Will there be other rewards from missions other than currency? I expect so. I expect you'll get items, ships, and rep. Yeah, almost certainly. And information. Data. Do you expect jump charting operations as gameplay element for the carrack this year? No. I expect the carrack to have not really much in the way of exploration mechanics beyond being able to land on planets and travel long distances in the current game. No extra mechanics, really. Any other questions? Any other suggestions for content you'd like to see in the near future? Board en route as a new channel idea. So I've got some new things I want to do when I've got people working for me. So I might check out some other content as well that's not just Star Citizen. I want to do Overwhelmingly Negative, where I look at people's funny, bad reviews on Steam of games and stuff. Typically terrible games. Sort of like look at the funny stuff they've said. And look at some odd descriptions and reviews of items on eBay and Amazon. Like there's a soldering iron, which is the operation described of it on eBay is turn the iron burger skull to Gary. If Gary's not there, then turn it to 3. It's like, what? That's the description of how to use it. There's other weird things, but there's lots of really obscure, random things on the internet when it comes to people reviewing things and item descriptions and things. It's interesting to me, so I was thinking about doing that as a channel. in addition to Star Citizen stuff. Just because I have a lot more leeway to do a lot more. What I'd like to be able to do is get 2 Star Citizen videos out a day. Oh, Hanif, don't be jealous. It takes loads and loads of free time to research, and you know, I've got to work on my belly while sitting here in this chair. I think I'm the everyman's YouTuber. I mean, anyone can do what I do. Got to work at it, I suppose. It's not that hard. Maybe it is. I don't know. I like doing what I do a lot, and there's a lot of potential to do other things. But with Star Citizen, I'd like to get 10 videos out a week, and then stream probably 4 times a week. That's sort of the goal in the medium term for me. And then potentially produce some other content on not Star Citizen stuff on different channels. In addition to that. So. Do you prefer the Corsair or the Mercury? Oh, difficult choice. The Mercury's cool. Very multi-role ship. Able to do a little bit of everything. Got data running, smuggling, cargo. Probably not super combat orientated. Good for getting your crew around. Corsair, much more focused on exploration. Depends what you want to do. I love both. Where is Harvestable Entities? So they've got the sort of background tech for it. It's sort of like in conjunction with the sort of like environmental assets and spawning stuff in at the moment. So Harvestable Entities will in the short term be the sort of like mining nodes. So the clustered minables. And that should also, and then they've got the back-end tech in for other things. They should hopefully be able to spawn loots and things like that in for it as well. But you're not going to see anything beyond beyond minables in 3.6, as far as I'm aware. But cheap versus expensive hacking chips, is it really worth spending 8k UEC? No, I just buy the Walsacos, what are they called? The 3k ones. Future, where it's time is of the essence and you're like a 5-star criminal and you don't want people to come and shoot you in the face. Yeah, maybe. Crucible, ship the repairs. Your thoughts on when it might come online in the verse? I don't know with the Crucible. It's quite complex, in my opinion, to ever get the Crucible in game. I would expect to see potentially the Vulcan even before the Crucible. They mentioned the Star Runner as one of the fastest ships in some email newsletters I got recently. Should be pretty quick compared to other size ships. Yeah, I mean, for its size, it's going to be pretty fast, and it's going to probably have a very efficient, fast quantum drive. Yeah, that's what I'd expect. I was going to pick up Hurricane during the annual sale. Have you heard if they enabled the pilot to lock the forward turret or remote control instead of requiring a second gunner? Not at this stage. I believe that it's going to have the potential either to have an AI module in there, or you'll be able to have an NPC dude in there at some point, or you'll be able to slave it. But not 100% sure yet on any of that. Well, we know that we're going to have to get an NPC crewman in there at some point. Believe the plan is to be able to have them slaved still. Do you know anything more about the Merchantman and how far they are at this at the moment? Can't find it anywhere. At the moment, they were a bit delayed on the Banu pipeline in general, which is why the Banu Defender got pushed back a couple of quarters. So hopefully we'll see that in 3.7. Then you'll find out probably more information about the Banu Merchantman, because they would have planned it a lot more effectively once they've got this style guide nailed in and their first Banu ship in the Defender released. Right, do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to consider going and get some lunch, and then I will probably do a video on something. Do a quick little video today, maybe looking at some form of gameplay loop and talking about Star Citizen in general. And then maybe some news. And then tomorrow, maybe look at Star Citizen, sort of like a big video on road to release for Star Citizen, looking at all the features that Star Citizen needs for completion. So like listing them and talking about them in a bit of brief, in a bit of detail, some brief detail. Can you talk about the possibilities to play more than one account per more than one character per account, and how CIG should and will handle this? It's interesting. I don't really know. So obviously EVE Online, for example, encourages you to skill up multiple characters and multiple accounts to do multiple tasks, and to even run multiple accounts simultaneously so that you can have your own fleet that will support each other. But in Star Citizen, there's no skills beyond your own personal skill, and it's a much more tactile experience, so that you'll need to, for the most part, be at your station with that character doing something. I'm sure some people will find ways of multi-boxing or running multiple accounts simultaneously, but it's not going to be effective in the same way EVE is. When it comes to what you can do with multiple characters or multiple multiple characters on a single account, will you be able to Agent Smith them? We don't know. They sort of like skirted around those questions, saying you won't be able to Agent Smith in the universe so much, but they didn't really explain if you'd be able to do anything interesting with teammates. Will you be able to use your other characters as NPCs on your ships? We sort of like don't know. And that's where we are at the moment. We don't really know what you'll be able to do with other characters on your account at the moment, beyond using them. I'd have potentially multiple characters in different areas. Do a video showing how different ships animate VTOL thrusters when they are using new hover mode. Maybe. You want to see that? I could do some pretty stuff like that. Maybe. I got my new 2080 Ti coming in the next couple of days, so do some pretty stuff. Maybe to show that off. Hover mode, different thrusters. I'll put it in the list at least. Yeah, you could have multiple characters on your account, so multiple traders, so that you can literally share a ship between those traders. So you'd have one going one way and one going the other way. Something, people to check prices in different areas. Mules, ones for criminal activity and PvP. Yeah. I believe you'll be able to have multiple characters on your accounts, yeah, if you've got multiple packages, but I'm not sure to what use those characters would be beyond what I've just said. I suspect it's something that CIG are still very much looking at. Can I hack any com array in the system? Yes. Go over to there, you can hack it, and then effectively turn it off. Or turn it back on, but... Do you think CIG will allow private servers and modding for an open source approach to development? So, I believe the plan is still to allow modding for Star Citizen and private servers for Star Citizen. But that's not going to be for a long time. I wish they had gone more down the approach so that they would allow modding and access to modding and private servers now, and have Star Citizen in a lot more raw of a state, but a lot more sort of people helping with the development, creating some cool stuff. But me. Going on buying the game, is it a nice time for a newbie to join the game solo? I would say probably not. Yatak. Oh, fuck it, why not? LD. I wouldn't say it's great for a solo player at the moment. It's very much alpha experience. It's sort of like giving feedback on gameplay loops, hunting down bugs. There's lots of love and fun and awesomeness and lots of gameplay to be had if you're in an org or with a group that's constantly planning events and things to do. Lots of emergent gameplay, but it's very much a tourist experience at the moment. You'd probably get like maybe 10 hours or so of really fun gameplay, and like, what's this? And then it gets frustrating when you're trying to do a gameplay loop again and again, and it crashes or something breaks or whatever. So the game's alpha, but if you're with a good group of people, they'll be doing lots of interesting, cool things. I will go and grab myself some dinner. Some lunch before it's dinner. Good shout. What's the best light fighter in game? Anvil Arrow. The Arrow's fantastic at the moment. Absolutely love it. I don't like Arrow. I love it. Hopefully I should be able to improve the stream quality as well. So with that new card. So you lower your crime stat at Security Post Korea or any other security depot. So Security Post Korea is a space station, but there's also security depots on Waller and Hurston, and they are marked on the planetary body, so you can look around and you can actually see where they are and set a waypoint to them. The console in there that you need to use a hacking chip on, and then you can lower your criminal rating there. Bam. Right, I'm going to go host Salty Mike, the artist previously known as Twerk, and give him some love. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Very, very chill. Thank you very much for helping me with ideas for content. Very much appreciated. I'll try and get a video up a little bit later today. And then as soon as I've got that 2080 installed, 2080 Ti, I should try and get some more beauty shots and start cataloguing gameplay and Star Citizen, and hopefully get better B-roll and things like that as well. So thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for the donations. Thank you so much for anyone that has put in for beer money and holiday money for August. For I will be going away a couple of times, and I will be enjoying myself. But only for the weekends and stuff, and hopefully I'll be able to get videos up planned for before I go. So maybe only missing a day a week of content. But yeah. But thank you very much, guys. Love you. You take care. Talk soon. Mwah. Peace. Oh, no, I need to type in raid twerk, don't I? Fuck! Perfect. Love you guys.